this to you. Oh my God. Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Now today's video is a special one because it's a review of one of the most hotly anticipated cars of 2021. A car we've not had a new version of for nearly 7 years. It is of course the brand new Audi RS3. Now I was hoping to bring you a review from one of the recent launch events, but sadly that was not to be. But thankfully the brilliant guys here at Tetbury Audi in Gloucestershire came to the rescue and they sorted me out not only with a brand new RS3 but also a new S3, so you can see exactly what the RS3's £12,000 premium over the S3 gets you. So let's get the ball rolling by seeing how these two hot Audis compare on paper. Okay, let's start off then with the thorny subject of price. The S3 Sportback is £39,445 on the road. The RS3 is £51,475 on the road. That's for the cheapest version, which we have here. That's a difference of £12,030. Both models have a Vorsprung edition, which is like fully loaded. For the S3, that's £47,195. For the RS3, that's £58,725. In between the base model and the Vorsprung, there is an RS3 Carbon Black edition for £56,125. So if you don't want the silver bits at the front and on the mirrors and around the windows, you're looking at £56,125 for the Carbon Black edition. The S3 is a 4-cylinder petrol turbo 2-litre engine. The RS3 is a 5-cylinder petrol turbo 2.5-litre engine. The S3 does 0 to 62 in 4.8 seconds. The RS3 does it in a magic 3.8 seconds. That's 0.3 of a second quicker than the old RS3. That's pretty damn good. They'll both do 155 miles an hour flat out. That's limited on both cars. You can pay a bit more and have it de-restricted or limited to 180 miles an hour. I've got to do 180 in an RS3 in Germany before I die. I think probably just before I die. The S3's engine produces 310 metric horsepower. The RS3 is 400 metric horsepower. That's actually not up on the predecessor cars at all. Torque for the S3 is 400 newton meters. For the RS3, it's 500 newton meters. That is actually up 20 newton meters. The S3 weighs 1,500 kilograms. The RS3 weighs 1,570 kilograms, which is actually not a lot considering it's a 5-cylinder car. I was pretty impressed with that because that's the same, I think, pretty much as the Mark 8 Golf R, and that's just a 4-cylinder car. They've both got 7-speed S-tronic dual clutch automatic gearboxes. They've both got 4-wheel drive systems, but the one in the RS3 is a lot more complicated and can give you torque vectoring and a drift mode as well with RS Torque Rear. The S3 one is a little bit more rudimentary. It still gives you loads and loads of traction, but it won't do things like quell understeer by kicking a bit of torque to the outside rear wheel. The S3 is 15mm lower than a normal A3. The RS3 is 25mm lower than a normal A3. CO2 emissions for the S3 are 185 grams per kilometre. For the RS3, it's apparently 205 grams per kilometre. That's on the UK website. On the German website, apparently it's 190 grams per kilometre, so I'm not sure which one's accurate, but yeah, I'm using data from the UK site, so that says 205. MPG for the S3 is 34.9 on the combined cycle. On the RS3 it's 31.4, so a little bit worse but not bad considering you've got an extra 100 horsepower. The boot of the S3 is 325 litres. According to the UK website, the RS3 boot is quite a bit smaller at 282 litres, so we'll have a closer look at that in a second. The RS3 is a little bit wider than the S3. I wasn't sure if it did feature the wider arches, but they are a little bit wider. The car is 35mm wider than the S3, so 3.5 centimetres in total. It's not massive. It's a little bit longer as well. It's 28mm longer. Must be something to do with the styling of the front and the back. The RS3 has got a wider front track, so the wheels are spaced out a little bit more, and actually it's got a bit better stance because it's got a more wider track than it's actually wider in the body. It's got a front track of 1592mm and 1524 at the back. So that's 47mm wider at the front than the RS3. But because it's housing really big wheels and tyres, the turning circle is actually just under a metre longer. So you can turn this around in 11 metres, 11.1 metres. The RS3 needs a whole 12 metres. Right, we've done the stats. Let's have a closer look outside and inside these two very hot Audis. Okay, so I'm not the first person to drive the new Audi RS3, but hopefully in my video you'll learn things about this car you won't learn in anybody else's reviews. For example, who else has put one next to an S3, so you can see exactly how they differ. I should say big thanks to the guys here at Tetbury Audi in the lovely Cotswolds for setting this up, because it is a dream come true seeing these two cars together in the sun. And they are both for sale. The RS3 I think is about £56,000 with its spec. It's got a very unusual spec we'll talk about shortly. The S3 is a year old and it's done a very low mileage, one lady owner, and it's available today, which obviously wouldn't be the case if you try to order one brand new. So if you want to buy either car, get in touch with John Walpole here at Tetbury Audi. Right, let's have a look at these cars then. So the RS3 Gen 3, this is the basic model, which means you get silver bits. If you want to go a bit gangster, you need to order carbon black or you need to go Vorsprung. So you've still got silver in the front bumper, you've got front splitter as silver as well, the mirrors are silver, but thankfully the sill cover is black. The wheels are silver as well. They're quite a pretty design, those. They remind me of some wheels on the aftermarket. They also remind me a bit of my Vossen wheels I had on my Golf GTI. There are some black wheels you can have with the carbon black edition and the Vorsprung, which are a bit simpler in their design. They look pretty good, but look at the discs in there. They've got to be 380s at least, those. And look at the caliper. That must be a 6-piston caliper, so that's pretty impressive. Makes you wonder if it's worth spending the just under £4,000 on the carbon ceramic brakes. But there is a pack called the RS Dynamic pack, which I think is just over £5,000, that gives you ceramics, gives you the sports exhaust, and gives you the adaptive suspension, which is a bit of a bargain. Something to show off at Cafe in a Machine. I mean, sorry, something to enjoy when you drive on track, because they will be pretty good at resisting fade, those ceramics. So yeah, if you're going to drive on track, definitely worth considering that pack. If not, I'm sure they're pretty good anyway. Look at the size of them. We have got a bigger sill here. It's a plastic cover actually on top of the normal metal sill with a black inlay. That's quite a bit different to the S3, which just has this silver piece stuck onto the metal sill. Might as well stay on this side. And then we've got this, must be a fake vent here. Maybe it does do something. I don't want to call it fake without knowing for sure. Compare that to the S3. So even though it's only sort of 3.5 centimetres wider overall, they made it quite distinctive by putting this bit here. So yeah, a good looking car. I mean, this looks pretty muscly until you compare it to the RS3. At the back it looks a bit less muscly though, because that's just a standard wheel arch. I'm not sure if it's any wider at the back. Yeah, it looks pretty much the same. Tyres, right, this is very interesting. We've got 9-inch wheels at the front, we've got 8-inch at the back, we've got massive 265 30 19s Bridgestones on this car at the front, 265 at the front. And at the back we've got 245 35 19s. So that's some serious rubber. On the old car there was an option to have wider, I think it was just front tyres, but that's just standard on this car. They've all got, whatever model you have, you've got 19-inch wheels, you've got the same size tyres. So yeah, that's kept it nice and easy, and that should mean that they all drive the same, which is by all accounts better than the old cars. This car's got the Matrix headlamps as an extra cost option. They're not actually standard on the basic model. And they do that trick thing and they show RS3 in the headlights. The normal headlights are closer to these if you don't spec Matrix on this model. I'm not actually sure you can spec Matrix LEDs as an option on the base model RS3. The configurator is all a bit confusing, and this car seems to be, because it's an early car, a spec you can't actually order. All the cars have got this black trapezoidal grille with the sort of frame around it. which is quite a bit different to the S3, which even blacked out I think would look distinctly different to the RS3. Okay, let's have a look at the back, starting with the S3. So we've got the 4 exhausts, which look pretty nice. They do stick out quite a lot. I think they look just about right. On this black car, I think this standard spec looks a lot better than it did on the red car that was an Audi UK press office car. So we've got the fake grills, which don't seem as obvious on a black car. We've still got the silver bits, but they kind of work well. Obviously this car's on 19s as well, which helps an awful lot. It's also got red calipers, which is really nice, brightens it up no end. How different is the RS3? Well, let's nip over here then. So, tailgate, lights, they look the same to me. Down here, the honeycomb bit, which is of course fake, is a lot bolder, and it's gloss. That's the big difference as well. It's actually, everything's matte plastic on there. On this car, it's gloss black. The exhaust treatment though is really nice. So these are just tips, effectively trim sitting in the bumper where the exhaust kind of sits inside them, but that's been the way for ages. It's even like that on R8s. This is a sports exhaust car, so it's got the black exhaust tips. Still got silver round here, but yeah, I think it's okay. We've got a diffuser there with just 2 fins and nothing particularly interesting underneath it. Let's just have a look at the diffuser on the S3. Yeah, it's got 2 more fins, interestingly. Okay, there's not a lot in it at the back, but yeah, you can definitely spot an RS3. Right, let's have a look inside the S3. Okay, first thing you notice about the S3 is the standard Napa leather with the contrast diamond stitching. Looks very expensive, smells pretty good as well. The RS3 has got the no-cost option microfiber and fake leather interior. Leather is standard, but you can spec this interior if you want. It's probably a vegan friendly interior or something like that. Interestingly, in Germany this is a standard interior. Leather is €1,000 extra, so you should really get €1,000 off if you spec it in the UK, but you don't. I think it's okay if you're really into your driving, you want grip and comfort. This is probably the best one, but does it look as expensive as the seats in the S3? I would probably say not. I've got contrast stitching on the floor mats down there, S sill covers which are illuminated. The door cards I think are pretty much the same. This has got B&O, which brightens the door card up a bit. What have we got on this car? No B&O. So actually, oh, we've got Alcantara there because it's the Alcantara interior. What have we got here? Yeah, fake leather. I think the Alcantara actually looks better on here. Other than that, it's the same thing. Got the fake stitching across there. And let's just get inside. This car, thankfully, because it doesn't have the driver assistance pack, presumably, has got the flat bottom steering wheel, which looks better than the press car I had a couple of weeks ago from Audi UK. Plastic paddles that are quite big. We've got the fake stitching across the top of the dash there, which, you know, looks interesting, but it's not my cup of tea. Got alloy trim here. This is all pretty plain, so gloss black, and yeah, not a lot going on. MMI touch, we won't talk about this too much, but it's the touchscreen. There are still buttons there for climate. It's quite a good compromise, I think, between an old interior and a buttonless one like in Golf. I've got virtual cockpits. We've got driving modes from Drive Select down there. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen this all before. If you want to see more S3, just check out my other 2 videos. Right, let's get in the car you really want to see. Before we do that though, let's have a look in the boot. Now, is this boot bigger? So this is 325 litres, and this is apparently, is it 274? Oh, we've got a power tailgate on an A3, which is only normally available on the Vorsprung model, so that's quite an unusual spec. So let's have a look. Yeah, the floor is a little bit lower, I think, in this. Not sure what's underneath here. I know you want to see that. Let's undo this luggage net. Okay, yeah, so some gubbings in there. So we've got the battery and the tyre repair kit. So there's nothing you can use down there. And then in here, yeah, it's a little bit lower. Okay, here you have space for a spare wheel, but there is none. But you could use that as well should you wish. So yeah, it's a lot more commodious, the S3, more than you might think. Right, let's have a look inside the important bit of the RS3. It's so door card, as we saw before. It's got the fake stitching, Alcantara, no sound system to brighten up the door card. It's got 4-way lumbar support, which is probably an option. The floor mats don't really have contrast stitching on them, so that's a bit duller than the S3. Altogether, first impressions are that I actually prefer the S3 interior. Got I think more perforation on the wheel. Now there is an option called the RS Design package, which gives you the Alcantara steering wheel with dead ahead marker, coloured stitching, coloured inlays in the air vents, more colour on the seats and seat belts. But Audi UK have decided that we don't want this in the UK, which I think is a big mistake, because this interior really does need dressing up, and it's what's stopping me from ordering a new RS3. So please, Audi UK, consider reversing that decision. Let's get inside anyway. Oh, got RS3, presumably illuminated covers on the sills. Check out the Audi Sport chassis number there, different to normal Audis, including the S3. Okay, in here it does feel pretty similar. Differences then are as follows. We've got some sort of carbon effect here, Alcantara in the doors, so similar. This car's got adaptive cruise control, so that stalk's a little bit different. Let's just start her up. Okay, so differences are, there is a button here that says RS, which lets you go to individual mode or RS performance mode, which is just like dynamic mode, I think, but it turns off the ESC, and that'll take you back to your other mode, which I think in this case is auto. That's pretty cool. Paddles, well, I'm pretty sure Evo said these were plastic, but do you know what? They feel cold to the touch, much more than the stalks. And if that was plastic, you'd be able to break that really easily. I'm going to try and break it. No, can't break it. So I think that is actually metal. Might have to fit them to my Club Sport. Other than that, there isn't really an awful lot to tell you about. There are displays on here that are apparently unique to the RS, so let's do dry. Let's press this button. So this is the new runway display, which is unique to RS3. Apparently it's optional, but it's on this car. So in there we have the rev counter. Yep. Okay, let's put it into a racy mode, which isn't that one, distinctly quiet. Let's do this the shortcut way. So let's go into hardcore RS dynamic. Do a bit of a sound check while it warms up. So I'm going to leave my mic down here and just give it a bit of a rev. So this is RS dynamic mode. And that's back in comfort mode now. So it's got a bit of character to the exhaust. Whether it sounds any good when we're driving, we'll find out shortly. Before we do that, let's have a quick look under the bonnet, because this is a very special engine, and of all the times we're going to look under a bonnet, I'm pretty sure this is the one that's worth the effort. So it actually looks a lot like the old one. It's got a distinct sort of crackle finish inlet manifold that's lovely. So not only have you got them taking care over that, you've got an engine cover as well, the RS badge. Yeah, so that definitely contributes some way towards the extra £12,000. Let's have a look under the bonnet of the S3, which, if I remember, has had some effort made, much more than in the VWs with the same engine. Okay, so yeah, it's got a black cover, but it's got the Audi badge on it. It's got red on there as well. Okay, well, it's, believe it or not, I don't believe it, the time for me to go and now drive the new Audi RS3. So here is the key. It's typical Audi key with the RS logo on it. The S on this generation also has the S logo on the key, which looks pretty cool. This car's also got something called the Audi Connect key, which means you can probably just hold this card on you without having to have a physical key, and that should do the job. It's not been set up on this brand new demo car. So got the foot on the brake, press the start button, and we're off. Let's just have a careful consideration what mode we're in. So I think dynamic will do for now. We'll see how hard it is, because we've got adaptive dampers on this car, which are going to be pretty much a must-have option, I reckon. So there's a bit of engine and exhaust character in it already over the S3. I'm not going to drive the S3 today because I've already driven that twice for videos. So if you want to see how that drives, check out those videos. I'll put a link at the end of the video. All right, let's just get out of Tetbury Audi. This is a very, very nice dealership, nice part of the world, nice people, and some great cars, being such an affluent part of the world. This car has done 59 miles, so it's going to have quite an easy time today, unfortunately. Somebody who's notched up most of those miles is, believe it or not, Archie Hamilton, who I gather was here yesterday. So it'll be interesting to see what his video is like. He's got, I think, at least one on order. And generally I give the car back and place an order for cars I've driven at dealerships, but I'm not sure I can afford this one. Right. So yeah, straight away, I think that's authentic noise, and it sounds pretty good. I'm just remembering the S3 that sounds like an RS3, and now I'm driving an RS3. Oh yeah, it's been a while since I drove an RS3, and yeah, I'm kind of remembering why I like them so much. It's a very rare thing to have a car with anything more than 4 cylinders in it today, but a 5-cylinder was always unusual, even when 6s were pretty common. So it's yeah, it's pretty special, pretty special. We're in dynamic mode, so it feels pretty firm. I don't think you'd want to drive it like that, particularly not in Gloucestershire. So let's pop it down into comfort. And this is how you're probably going to drive it most of the time. So there's a bit more compliance to the suspension straight away. You can tell in Gloucestershire it's very easy to tell, and yeah, that feels really comfortable. Just see how, if there's any fakery. So this is comfort. No, it sounds just like it does with dynamics. That's great. It's just the fakery in the S3 was so convincing, it's easy to believe they're doing it again in this car, but I don't think they are. So back into, okay, RS Performance, that's the one. We've also got RS Torque Rear, which, do I want to try it today? I'm not so sure. Yeah, I think you have to stop and put it into, say you're not going to drive it on the road, you're going to be really careful, so we'll save that for a bit. Man. Even on just light throttle openings, that 500 Newton meters of the torque, that's really quite broadly spread through the rev range, is good. It feels properly quick. I mean, that's, oh yeah, okay, it's worth £12,000 more than the S3 all day long. Just listen to it. Ah yeah, and those brakes still probably bedding in, but they feel really confidence inspiring. This is a great sequence of bends. Listen to that engine. Yeah, an S3 doesn't do this to you. Oh my god. Yeah, and it's not about the engine in this car, because there's very little changed over the previous generation car. It's about the chassis, which when we get off this road we'll hopefully find a little bit more about. Okay, I thought I'd better drive it in an urban environment, just make sure I don't get lost, because these cars can feel amazing on the open road, but get them in towns and they can feel a bit uncomfortable, shall we say, and it does drive a little bit less good in town. So whilst the ride is fine on the open road, imperfections at these kind of speeds, it does feel a little bit crashy, and the gearbox, which is fine when it's sort of in attack mode, just like in the older car, is a little bit clanky and hesitant at slower speeds, but it's perfectly fine. You've got to remember it's dealing with quite a lot of torque, 500 Newton meters, so it's probably not exactly the same gearbox as the super slick one that you get in Golf 7-speed DSG. So, as you probably guessed, it's quick. It feels pretty easy to live with when you're in comfort mode. It's not terrible on fuel for a 400 horsepower car. It's pretty practical, but not as practical as an F3, but it's all about the chassis. So we've got increased negative camber on the front and the back. We've got new hardware here and there to take the extra loading because of the negative camber. We've got new spring rates, like every hot hatch from VW Group recently. They've all got a little bit firmer, but this feels actually more comfortable than... This is dynamic mode. It doesn't feel too hard in comfort. I'd say it's more compliant than Golf R. But let's just see what the chassis does now then. So gearbox is great, 7-speed S-tronic. So it does feel a little bit more alive than the old cars. Yeah, let's do that again. It's going to be really hard to get a good feel for it, but straight away it feels a lot more exciting to drive than the older cars, which were brilliant in a straight line, but kind of sort of lost their way when it came to their chassis, particularly on a good road. Not particularly impressed with the steering in dynamic mode, but you can maybe mix and match the individual and have it how you want it. But yeah, it definitely feels a lot less front heavy coming into that downhill left-hander. And then brakes when you meet a Land Rover are pretty excellent. Yeah, it's so quick, it can probably get you into a bit of trouble, but yeah, already I can feel there's been a lot of work in the chassis, and I think for me that's important, because the older I've got, the more I enjoy a car's chassis and not necessarily the outright speed of one. So if you've got the four-wheel drive with the RS torque rear engaged, and you can, you know, get it working the rear axle a lot more, I think it'll be a much more engaging car to drive than the old model, which once you pushed into understeer there wasn't an awful lot you could do. Refinement wise then, let's put it back into comfort with Drive Select. Quite a bit of tyre noise, but I think it's probably more acceptable with 265s and 245s than it was on the F3 I drove in the other video on 225s. It doesn't sound an awful lot different. It's quite a coarse surface here. So yeah, very impressive. I wanted to hate this car because I don't particularly like the base F3 or even A3, but I think for that engine and now that chassis, you can forgive an awful lot. It's not cheap, at £12,000 extra over the S3, which is into the, you know, once you've spec'd even a base model how you want it, you're going to be mid-50s, getting onto the 60s. That is a lot of money, and you could probably buy a Porsche, something like a decent 718 Cayman. I know it's 4-cylinder, but it's still a pretty decent car to drive. You could buy one of them and a very good daily car like a Skoda Yeti or something for similar sort of money, but you could just drive this every day. There's no reason why you couldn't. It's not that bad on fuel either, and as you can see on this sort of bumpy road, it rides pretty well. So I'm not completely sold on it just yet. I probably need to spend a bit more time behind the wheel, but it's the driving. Driving is believing with the new RS3, and that really does go a long way to justifying the £12,000 premium over the S3, which in comparison is quite a mundane car to drive. Anyway guys, thanks for watching this Volks Wizard video. As ever, if you've enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, please do comment, please do share, please do subscribe. And big thanks to Inchcape Audi in Tetbury, particularly John Walpole. It's been an incredible opportunity to drive this car today. So thanks guys, and if you want an Audi, make sure you contact them, and I'll see you for the next one very soon.